The requirements of open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded over and will be broadcast in a future date over the Lunenburg Public Access Channel. The mission statement of the Lunenburg Public Schools is to provide all students with the skills, confidence, and passion for lifelong learning so that they may find their own paths to successful careers, active citizenship, and rewarding lives. Now I'm going to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, and then after that we are going to have a moment of silence for Judy Pierce. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. For the chair's report today, I just wanted to announce that my term is up in May, and I will not be running for re-election. So if you know anyone that wants to sit on the school committee, caucus is
Monday, March 16th, 7 p.m.
to get on the ballot. Okay, so we have two presentations today, the NEASC accreditation and mock trial. NEASC is going first. Okay.
Okay, good evening, folks. I'm Bob Hill, teach at the high school with Lynn Radford here. And I'll just very quickly take you through the decennial visit of NEASC, a group that is a consortium. They visit all schools and colleges throughout New England and provide the accreditation, which we then put on our transcripts, which we put on our letterhead that says we are doing a good job as a school. Okay. So the people that will be visiting in just a couple of weeks is a mix of superintendents, vice principals, teachers from all over New England. We now know who these people are. We met with the chair just the other day, and they're going to spend 2.5 days with us meeting with students, meeting with teachers, meeting with administration, meeting with the superintendent. We've written a report 2 years ago. We've been reflecting on that report since then, and it all comes to a conclusion in the next couple weeks.
Okay, so this is the decennial visit, so this is like the big visit for NEASC. We don't have these every 2 or 3 years. We had a previous visit in 2015 and 2018, and particularly during the 2018 visit, we were tasked with accomplishing certain goals for the school that were based on the information that we presented. So we have been working very hard and diligently for the last 2 years on this report, which is pretty lengthy and really, really comprehensive. So after the visit, what we can expect from NEASC is that they will give us a report back. So the way that it goes is they come and they see all of the things that we have to share, and then they sequester themselves away for a day or a day and a half, and they just sit and write the whole report, rough draft, and they share preliminary findings with the staff. And then in March, we get the official report, which will be made public on the school website, and we are required to make that public for the community. So that will contain suggestions for how we're moving forward from here, because this is a continuous progression of improvement, always a place we can improve on something. And the report is available, like I said, will be on the school website. We'll probably have hard copy here at the school.
Okay, so as part of the 2018 report, we looked at many, many different things. We're not going to get into too many details, but the 5 areas of growth that we've been charged to work, and these were selected by us and reinforced by them, but they wanted us to self-reflect. So being more thorough with our curriculum maps, which we have done, developing a professional development committee, which we have done, and instituting many programs based on that. finding ways for more civic and community engagement of our students, and there's some exciting new developments going on in the history department and the English department we can get into another time. Finding ways that students can have more choices in their learning, developing a career path and an educational path that's more of their choosing when possible, while still guiding them along the way. And then making our crisis team more up-to-date in a variety of ways to help dealing with mental health issues, also more dramatic issues that will never happen in Lunenburg, but we'd like to be prepared, and making sure everybody's on the same page and knows their role.
Okay, so we've been working on, over the last 2 years, to prepare for this curriculum map refinement and development. And this was the major task that we had last year. We had a lot of courses that were new, that needed updated curriculum maps written, so we took care of all that. We developed a graduate profile, which was my first task on the NEASC as a steering committee person. I was sent to a workshop and learned all about writing a graduate profile and taking our vision of the graduate and our beliefs about learning in Lunenburg and turning that into a physical document that embodies what skills we hope our graduates will have upon leaving Lunenburg High School. And these are things that they learn in classes and work on in classes, but they sort of transcend just curricular area skills. So in order to assess how we're doing with our graduate profile regarding our students, we have also been working on rubrics to assess that progress. That is not a completed task at this time, but it's not necessary that it's completed at this time, so we're going to share with the team our progress there and hopefully get a lot of really good feedback and some good suggestions from them before we finalize those work drafts. We have a large assortment of student work that's been gathering in my classroom for the last couple of weeks. People have been dropping stuff off. Every teacher at Lunenburg High School has contributed to this effort. People have been bringing in student work, how we assess it, comments we've gotten from students, speaking to students who are going to share that work with the visiting team, organizing by department so that staff knows how they're going to present their work to the visiting team. And some of it will just be out in sort of like a science fair environment where the team can come in when they have some free time and peruse the other items that we have. So there is quite a bit of that. The work showcases how we're addressing the graduate profile, also how we incorporate special services into our classes when appropriate, and how we incorporate counseling services to better help our students. And then we've been reflecting and reporting out on our key investors and how everybody plays a part in the goals of our school and in obtaining the vision of the graduate. And this we've been writing. Many pages.
And we don't want to keep you guys too long. So starting on Sunday late afternoon, these folks will be coming in from various places. They'll be staying in a local hotel. Monday morning, they'll be here. They'll be interacting with students quite a bit. They'll be visiting classrooms. They'll be meeting in small groups with students. Students are aware of this. They'll be talking about the work they've done. They'll be meeting, of course, with the superintendent. They'll be meeting with the principal and assistant principal and groups of teachers that are involved in those 5 growth areas we met recently. There'll be some presentations. There won't be any like pep rally for NEASC or anything like that. But it is very much focused on student work and the teacher work that guides the students.
So if anybody wants more information about NEASC, because a lot of people have asked what it is, there is a website there. It's general information. And then, like we said before, the final report from the committee will be available when we have it on our district website.
There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, it's been it starts with the work of the
You've been very
students,
busy.
of course. But yeah, it's been a lot of work, but it's certainly been everybody on board.
Everyone together.
It really has been. It really has.
Yeah.
And it truly is a significant amount of work, and they have been utilizing PD time, faculty meeting time over the last 2 years
Oh yeah.
to get ready for this, and as chairs, they have done a phenomenal job. So thank you both very, very much for your work, along with the rest of the staff and faculty at the high school. I know it's an exciting visit ahead. In another week, we have 1 more week.
I am kind of excited for it now.
It's not going to take,
It's next
just to be
time.
clear, it's not this coming Sunday.
March
a
8th to the
week.
11th.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are fully confident, as everybody should be, that the visit will go well. We're not going to fail NEASC. There's not such a thing as failing NEASC. They will find many things wonderful about this place and our students, and they will, of course, notice some things that we can improve on, like everywhere in life.
Right.
But we are going to pass NEASC with flying colors, I guarantee it.
Thanks both
Thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually served on the ES committee and visited the school before. It was a good experience.
Okay, so the superintendent sets up our slideshow. I'm Lisa LeBlanc, and I am the mock trial coordinator, mock trial advisor for our high school. And this is...
I'm Brita. I've been on the mock trial since my freshman year of high school. And since my sophomore year of high school, I've kind of acted as an unofficial captain of the team.
Yes, we don't have captains, but we made captains. This is a portion of our team. This was not everyone, but this is actually where we go to court. We do. We go to at least 3 trials, and we'll talk a lot about that system. But here we are at the Leominster Trial Court, so it's right in the downtown area. Thank God I have a big car. We pile in my car, and we go down there in January. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the format of mock trial, and then Brita will talk a little bit about the good stuff, about what it's like to actually do this. So this is run by the Massachusetts Bar Association. So every year, the Mass Bar creates a case packet that is an invented case. It's not murder, but they do go back and forth between civil trials and criminal cases. This year was a civil case, last year was a criminal case. We've had all sorts of good ones. We've had gas tank explosion. This year was cheating, was allegations of cheating that showed up on social media, so it was a First Amendment case. So they're really, really interesting. We play in a region with 4 teams. Unfortunately, our 4 teams are Groton Dunstable, the Groton School, and Parker. And so we did not make it to the playoffs. But we do have a great time. We hold our own. We lost by 2 points 2 times.
I say we lost by 2 points to a school that's created like 3 or 4 U.S. presidents.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
even though somewhere.
We had a great time searching and researching what the Groton School was all about. They did win. They won the bracket this year. But this is on some of our team format. Just so you know, it's open to high school students. It's in the state. There's 130 plus teams that compete. So our rules here and how this works is, even though I'm a middle school teacher, this is after school, so I get to be their advisor. It's a perk of being in the same building. We don't run like a sport where we have set times, because a lot of our students do other activities. Also, this one involves reading and writing, and at a really, really high level. And so we need to make it flexible and fun, because if we don't, no one would do it. So lots of snacks and lots of free time, and so some of our guidelines are up here just for you to see. Students do need to be in good academic standing. I communicate with their high school teachers quite a bit, make sure that when they're missing class for trial, trial does happen during the day, so they are excused from class 3 times, and they have to make up their work, and they need to not be upsetting anything. And the schedule is kind of at the bottom. It's not a year-long thing, unfortunately, but it's kind of like a season, like a sport. So I get the information at the end of October, and then I'm allowed to share it with my team, and then we work all the way through pretty intensely until January, February. If we make it to playoffs, then it goes into March. So I'm not going to click it open for you, but the case packet is really intense. It's 80 pages long. It has the scoring and procedures and rules, just like a sports team would. They're very specific to mock trial. It is real legal procedure. This is where we're most proud of ourselves, and Rita will show you some of this, but it is the amount of legal stuff is slimmed down, but the wording, the law that they're expected to know and memorize and understand is the exact same that you would see in a courthouse. So we're very impressed by the work that they do. So Rita's going to talk a little bit about some of the roles. And just tell
Yeah, so I've hit all 5 of the big roles over the course of the past 4 years. But as a lawyer, there's 2 big roles you can take. So that first one is a direct examination. That's where you have a witness from your side that's been prepared. So you're questioning someone that you know what their answers are likely going to be. It's a really great starting point. So my first year, I did 1 direct examination. I stood up, asked my questions, sat down. A lot of it was really confusing. But it starts to unfold itself after you do it for a couple of years. And then the second one is the cross-examination. It's probably my favorite role you can take. There's a little bit of a thrill about it because you're questioning someone who you've never talked to before. They're trying their hardest to wiggle out of your questions, and this requires you to really know the case and the person you're questioning so that you can respond quickly to their questions. It's not always a direct line of questioning that you already have memorized. Here you're going to be flexible. And then witnesses are a role that are really great for some people, especially people who like theater. So you can kind of bring in some people who may not be doing mock trial for the law, but it can be a really fun acting role. So they get an affidavit, which tells the story of a witness, and then they're required to learn that affidavit and take on that role and become that witness. And then they're going to be questioned by a direct, so someone from our school, and then they also have to be ready because they're going to be cross-examined by someone from another school, and they need to be able to respond just as quickly as the cross-examiner would. And then there's an opening statement. So this really is what pulls our whole case together. So we have individual affidavits, and then the opening statement starts to take a more general look at how do we bring this all together into one coherent story. It tells the judge what we're going to be telling them throughout this case and lays the foundation for the rest of the trial. And then the closing statement oftentimes mirrors the opening statement. It's going to bring together everything that was said in the case into one argument and really acts as a way of knitting together all these individual lines of questioning. And the really interesting part about the closing statement is this is also our case law comes into effect. So part of this big 80-page long packet that we have has case law at the back of that. That's real case law, things like Tinker versus Lemoyne that we're going to study in AP Gov. And it requires us to learn those cases, read this case law, right? So it's real case law. Sometimes it's a little confusing to read. It's not simplified for a high school reader. And then apply that case law and figure out how it applies to the argument we're trying to make so that the judge can rule in favor of our side.
And this is the kind of work that we have. There's another member of our group who's not with us, but we have an attorney coach. So every team must have a teacher coach from their district and also must have an attorney coach. And so it's a voluntary position. So we use attorney June Riddle, who's a long time now kind of retired attorney. She is amazing. She's the real deal. She is excellent with the kids, but intimidating enough that you don't want to mess with her. So you listen to what she says because she's telling you how it actually is. And it's thrilling to be with her. But I say from my end, I learn as much as the kids do. I mean, I can picture Brita and I right towards the end, we were prepping, we're looking over this case law and she's going, do you interpret it this way? And I'm going, I don't know, let's look at this. And we're really, really getting in the work that attorneys would do. It's really exciting work. So these are some pictures. We have kind of 2 places that we work. We work in my classroom. After school, kids just show up when they can. The attorney shows up on a couple days. She's pretty flexible now, so she shows up on Tuesdays and Thursdays to work with us. And then also the other pictures are my mother's house. And my mother lives across the street, and she is our den grandmother. She cooks breakfast for the kids on Saturday morning or Sunday mornings. This has become a bit of our January, February tradition. We meet breakfast, coffee,
We're having an Italian banquet tomorrow night to celebrate mock trial.
because sports usually get banquets, and we decided that mock trial needed a banquet too. So now we put on our own banquet. But it's just a wonderful opportunity. It helps the kids. It's a stressful activity. And we've managed to find a lot of the fun in it. So briefly, this is exactly how an actual trial functions, and this is the format that we follow. So if you have anything that you want to point out.
Yeah, so we're going to start with stipulations, and then you can see this is formatted for a criminal case with prosecution and defense, and then every other year we rotate between criminal and civil. So this year it was actually plaintiff and defense. And yeah, that's the big format.
So these, Rita's not going to read all of them, but this is the part that I get the refresher on every year because we don't walk around objecting to each other in real life. But this is what they're expected to do. There is a judge, someone who's volunteered their time. Mr. Murphy has volunteered his time as a judge for many years. And they're expecting that our students stand up, object to someone else's line of questioning or to a witness's narration perhaps, and respond with exactly what the rules and procedures would be. So here's the objections, things that you would stand up as an attorney.
And this also too means that once you do your questioning, you're not necessarily done. So if you are directing a witness, then you're there while the other side is cross-examining that witness, and it's your responsibility to be thinking quickly and making sure that there's nothing that needs to be objected to. And then when there is something that needs to be objected to, it's your responsibility to jump up real quickly and object to it. And it can be nerve-wracking. It can take some time to figure out how to do that because you're standing up objecting in front of a judge who is often of high caliber, and it can be intimidating, but it's really good practice for that kind of off-the-cuff speaking.
Yeah. So they do. It reminds me a lot of a sports team. What they're doing is, it's kind of like you're on the bench, but at any point you're going back in. Rita really is our captain. She spends a lot of time banging on the desk, trying to get our other attorneys to kind of make sure that they sit up. It really is quite nerve-wracking. For us, we sit in the back. We're not allowed to talk. It's just like watching your little baby birds fly. And this is our last thing, just to show you kind of the work that they would do.
Yeah, so this is a little snippet of a cross-examination from this year that was written. So cross-examinations are about 5 minutes long, so it's more like 2 to 3 pages of questioning. But what you can see here is, this is what's really unique about a cross-examination, is it requires you to figure out the argument you're trying to make at the end, and then break it down and pull it apart, and find out how can I ask questions that are small, precise, and know exactly what the witness is going to say to those questions, so that I can almost trap them at the end into one big question. So I really like it because you get to trap them a little bit at the end. It's a little bit of a chase there. But it really, just requires you to break down your arguments and then figure out how can you get there by the end.
And these are some of kind of our culminating pictures. We have 4 seniors this year. We have some pictures of our previous years. Daphne,
I see her.
Heather. I love the pictures of Danny and ATN because they look like they should have a law firm together. And it's just been, it has been a huge highlight of my career working here. I can't say that enough. It's a wonderful group of kids. It almost pulls wonderful kids out and towards it because it is such an excellent, high-intensity, rewarding thing that we do. But it's a small group of kids, so we really get to know each other. We become, very close. And it's a wonderful opportunity that Lunenburg offers that we wish more kids knew about. So this is really why we're here sharing it, is that it's a wonderful thing that we offer. And with missing 4 seniors next year, we'd really love to replace that and build on it.
Yeah, and then I told Mrs. I just want to share a little bit because it's great what we do for mock trials, and for me, the really valuable thing has been the output, right? So what mock trial has helped me do outside of the classroom, outside of the courtroom. And so one of the big things is 2 summers ago, I applied for and was able to go to a summer legal institute down in Springfield. As a result of that, I was selected to go to Washington, D.C. There we met with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. We toured the Supreme Court. I was selected for that out of a group of about 60 people. There were about 5 of us chosen because of my engagement throughout that week. So we did a mock trial during that week. We also performed oral arguments. And mock trial gave me that foundation to come into that institute really strong and with an understanding of the law. So I really credit mock trial with allowing me to have that opportunity. And then the second thing was I went to Girls State this past summer. And every Girls State in the nation selects 2 girls to attend Girls Nation. So about 350 girls at Massachusetts Girls State, I was selected to attend Girls Nation. And the reason I was selected for that opportunity, I really credit to 2 things. So one was I was a judge on Girls State Court, and the reason I was a judge on Girls State Court was because I was the highest scorer on our Girls State bar exam that about 100 girls took, and it was mock trial that gave me that. There's no class at Lunenburg about law, but mock trial gives me that opportunity to learn about something that I can't learn about within the school day. And then the other thing that really takes the mock trial and makes it something that everybody should participate in, not just people who want to go into law school, is that mock trial gave me the ability to speak extemporaneously. So a lot of times in school, right, we're learning information, but we're not always practicing how do we deliver that, how do we share those ideas. And so at Girls State, I ran to be a senator, and then I ran to be president of the Senate. I won both of those elections, and during both of those elections, I had to give extemporaneous speeches. And mock trial is what allowed me to, one, be able to give those speeches, but also to have the confidence to do that, rather than feeling like, oh, I can't speak off the cuff, I don't want to run for this to begin with. So I really credit mock trial with allowing me to attend Girls Nation and meet with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yeah.
Thank you for letting us speak. And when she's on the Supreme Court,
I know.
in a number of years, we will all say that we sat here and watched her.
Yeah.
Because you're a dream. I tell her that all the time. So any questions?
Well, I just wondered how many kids were on the team this year?
So we had 10,
Yeah.
which actually is really good.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, we were at the bare minimum. I think
6.
Yeah, the bare minimum is 6, which requires people to do 3 roles
Right,
a case,
yeah.
which is mind-blowing, and we sometimes go up against, like we were just talking about, Groton Dunstable comes with 2 teams. They
Yeah.
come with 2 fully staffed 8-person
Yeah.
teams, so it is 16 against sometimes 6 or 8. So to come within 2 points sometimes, a little nervous. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
And I would just say that you are a phenomenal advisor.
It is awesome. One of the most worthwhile things I did.
Okay, and so now we have public comment for agenda items. If anyone has public comment, just go over to the table. Do we have any public comment? I thought Mike was going to give public comment. Okay, we have warrants and line item transfers.
So we do have warrants, and we do have a few line item transfers. The first is a request to transfer $557.55 from the athletic expense supplies line to the new equipment line, and this is a proposed transfer to reconcile a slight overage in the athletic account, so that will bring us back to balance. And we have 2 requests to transfer funds again for the extended day rental, $2,500 for the month of February and March.
Any questions on the line item transfer?
No?
I'll make a motion to accept the 3 line item transfers as described by the superintendent.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes to approve. Did you all take a look at the regular and executive session minutes?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just questioning whether or not we were prepared to release the executive session minutes.
I would suggest no.
No, we
at
don't,
this time.
no.
Well, would we,
You can
why would we
We can
put those?
approve them, but we,
We would approve them on the agenda, but not release them?
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't think we approved them until they were ready to be released.
Then we announce a release.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion to accept to approve the regular session, February 5th, and executive session, January 8th meeting minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Superintendent's report?
We have a few things this evening. A little information about the coronavirus concerns that seem to be growing in the U.S. The Mass Department of Public Health has communicated that the risk for contracting coronavirus in Massachusetts currently is very low, while the risk of contracting the flu currently is rather high. We want to remind families that we do have 6-day guidelines, a list of criteria that you should review to know when to keep your child home sick. A statement has been posted on our website with a link to our 6-day guidelines and a fact sheet on coronavirus. And we will also be sharing some additional resources with families via the email that will go out Friday. With my monthly highlights and spotlights, we will attach some additional resources for folks around the coronavirus. And we'll continue to stay in touch with the Mass Department of Public Health for guidance on that. I want to remind everybody that next Tuesday, March 3rd, is primary election day. It's the presidential primary election. Voting will take place at TCP, and voters will arrive through the main entrance. And we will have the extended day students for arrival and dismissal from the side entrance of TCP, not to be caught up in the coming and with the voters. The Kinship Care Group had a meeting, their second meeting, this past Monday morning at Eagle House. They had a good turnout. They have a nice small group that has returned for the second meeting. They have scheduled meetings in March and April, so March 30th and April 27th at the Lunenburg Senior Center on Memorial Drive from 10 in the morning until 11. Spring after-school activities will be starting up soon for the Turkey Hill. They will begin the week of March 16th and they will run for 5 weeks. I just want to remind everybody that the budget timeline, we are slated to present to the Finance Committee on March 12th at 6:30 at Town Hall. And an update on the Student Opportunity Act and the plan that we will have to submit. The actual form for us to complete, to submit digitally, is not yet available to us, but we do have a template of what will be required to be in the plan. So I've started to draft that plan. The plan will align with our district strategy that was approved this fall, and it also, because our strategy aligns with the priorities for the Student Opportunity Act. So there's going to be a nice direct link between the requirements for the legislation and the work that we're already underway with. We do have to have some stakeholder engagement, so I will draft a plan, and the building leaders will share with their school advisory councils to solicit some feedback. We will share with the PTO to solicit feedback, the district advisory council to solicit feedback. We will also post and send an invitation out to all families to provide feedback through LPS Online. This plan has to be submitted April 1st. There is no opportunity for the commissioner to provide an extension because the date is in the legislation. So there's no flexibility there. But the school committee does have to vote to approve the plan before it's submitted. It's a very short window of time till our second meeting in March, which is the 18th of March. If we can manage to have a draft out and solicit input from the faculty at faculty meetings and all the other parent faculty member groups prior to that meeting, I'll be able to bring that to you and present it as a final draft with input from the stakeholders, and then you all can weigh in on it as well and have discussion prior to a vote. If we cannot get all of that accomplished by the 18th, we will have to schedule a special meeting just to approve the plan prior to April 1st so that we can submit it. Although I think we have until midnight, so we might be able to take the vote on our April 1st meeting. So let me verify that we have until midnight, and we can take the final vote at our April 1st.
Will we
meeting.
have a form ready by then?
I'm hoping. Yeah, I'm really hoping. They didn't leave us a lot of time to do this process in a way that is thorough, I think. It's going to be quick, which is unfortunate. But stay tuned, we're working on it.
Okay. Student reps report, Kyle?
So today we've got student councils in the final stages of planning our trip to Hyannis for our student council conference with about 1,300 leaders from across the state. Student council has also begun their prep for all the appreciation days coming up in the spring. The National Honor Society is hosting a dodgeball tournament next Friday, March 6th, and it's $2 to attend. All the teams have been established, and they've even established the brackets. The theater club has decided on their spring production to be Eurydice, and auditions will be next Thursday. The class of 2020 is in the final stages of planning their prom. Meanwhile, the class of 2021 has just begun the prep for their prom, and there will be a meeting this Friday for any student in the junior class interested in helping. The hockey team won last night 2-4, with the next game on Sunday at 6:30 at the Civic Center. And girls basketball also won their game, with their next game being Friday at 6:30 as well. They are in the second round of districts. And lastly, Roll on America is this Friday for all students. $10 for skate rentals, pizza, and 10 tokens, with the money going towards PTO.
Thank you. New business, action items, a review of the fiscal year 20 budget. Mr. Cassidy. Right?
Good evening, everyone. You should have the quarterly report for the last quarter of our budget update. I would like to bring to your attention some of the accounts that are in negative. We'll talk about those if we could. So on page 2, there's a substitute account that's in a negative balance at this point. This is due to a long-term absence at the school. And we will, I'll eventually propose money into that account. But there's a potential another absence that will affect that account, and we'll get more information on that, and I'll include that expense in the proposed transfer.
Isn't there a line item for long-term subs?
There isn't, so that's a good point, and I'll likely create a new account to reflect that, because it is it's a good practice to report that to the state for our long-term absences. It's the only school that doesn't have that.
Yeah, I looked at all of them,
Yeah.
and they all had at least $3,000 in an account. And the other question in regards to that is, Turkey Hill has budgeted $12,800 for subs, but the high school has budgeted $34,000. So I was just wondering why there was such a big discrepancy between primary, Turkey Hill, and the middle school all having 10, 12, and 11, and the high school having 34.
We're going to look at that more closely this year as we budget. It's really based upon past expenditures, and we try to adjust it the best way we can. Long-term absences, I would like to know everyone who's going to be pregnant next year, but that hasn't happened yet. So I can't go in and budget that. I can't anticipate long-term absences. So it's, we do the best job we can establishing the budgets based upon what we spend in those accounts in the past.
Okay.
So just to let you know, I'll likely be transferring some of the money, like in some of the other sub-accounts, and shifting that over to
Turkey Hill.
Turkey Fund. So we can kind of save that, keep that money with that money for those purposes. On page 4, there is a $1,389 deficit on sped tuitions. That was a transfer that you approved last week, and at the time that I ran this report, Town Hall had made that adjustment, so you've taken care of that already. Further down that page, there's a $4,300 negative balance in emergency expenditures. That reflects the glass replacement in the other room.
Oh, that's what that was?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Is that covered under insurance?
What was it?
Was that covered under insurance? No? That's not covered under insurance, the
Well,
glass?
I know John's looking into that to see if it's under warranty.
Okay.
But we may be able to recoup that, or the town may be able to recoup that. But we've got to swoop in, just in case it becomes a safety issue.
Does Mr. Londa know why it broke? Did Mr. Londa know why it was damaged?
No.
No?
We actually viewed the security film and didn't see any incident that contributed to the shattering of the panel. So he suspects that there might have been a slight fracture, that under some conditions it just fractured. The way it looks now.
So
But
it
but
wasn't a
because, yeah,
result of an accident?
No, I was just wondering.
or damage done by a mishap for a student or what have you. But it is a safety issue, so we do
Okay.
have to move forward and have it replaced.
On page 7, there's a $219 negative balance for new furniture. That was another transfer you took care of last week, or last meeting. And then the 2 athletic negative balances.
We just signed.
Any
Right, we just signed for that.
questions?
Any questions?
Not anything really specific in terms of the line items. I did notice that several line items had the expended and encumbered totaling 100% already. We don't expect those to be increasing at all for the remainder of the fiscal year.
For the like supplies and services?
Yeah, you're right. There's one of them was like legal services were encumbered, and so that's hit 100% already, for example. And then there were several supply lines that were already at 100% as well. So,
For me, I like to see that the schools are encumbering and using their funds. So they're not going to be looking at increasing those accounts. They want to do transfers within their line items. But ordinarily, if it's a service, we'll encumber the full account for services. If it's like just a line, just accounts, we'll encumber money in the case of an emergency, which is general service and maintenance for equipment. So I think that's a good thing.
Okay.
I'm not worried about it.
Well, and
It's a good observation.
just looking at the grand total, we're 60% of the fiscal year budget to date. That seems reasonable considering where we are in the school year. So it looks like we're right on track to where we expected to be.
So there'll be another, over the next year, so there'll be another portion from purchases for the year, and look at payroll line, our closeout with, more closely with, and just checking POs, and really looking at account balances. So,
Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to accept the budget update as presented.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Bunnell. Spring athletics.
Chloe.
Hello.
How's it going?
Okay.
I'm here today to request your approval of a few different things that I know Dr. Berman sent out a memo regarding those. The first request is Fitchburg High School, their Boys Lacrosse program, the past couple of years has 2 years ago dwindled from a varsity and JV program to last year just being a varsity program, and unfortunately they had to forfeit their last 4 games of the season because of lack of numbers. Fitchburg is in our league. Their athletic director reached out to me asking if there was a possibility, if there was any room for his kids to come and play here, because he only had 6 to 8 kids that were interested, which is not enough to field a team. So right off the bat, we were going to be losing 2 games with a league opponent, which stinks. But more importantly, Fitchburg, they opened their doors for our kids for boys and girls tennis. So it was only in the new athletic director's mind over at Fitchburg, he just thought it made sense where we're right next door. And it just so happens, coincidentally, that last year's boys lacrosse program graduated, I think it was like 14 or 15 seniors. So last year, where the program was already at like a great number at 33, they were losing close to half. So the timing couldn't work out any better, where we could use those student athletes from Fitchburg here. So the request is, it was brought forth to the Midland Wachusett League at our last athletic directors meeting. It was approved there. Basically giving the same explanation that I just gave to you. Everybody was, in agreement with that. And the biggest thing is that we want to provide, an opportunity for kids to be able to play, and where they provided that opportunity for some of our kids in one sport, I think it's only right that, when we can return the favor, we're able to do so, and seeking your approval for that co-op to be submitted and start this year.
Okay, the only question I have is how long is the co-op? And if our
That's my
numbers
question.
increase in a couple of years?
The co-op will be for 2 years.
Okay.
With the intent that both Lunenburg and Fitchburg does want to bring
yeah.
that program back,
Yeah.
but they didn't want to get rid of it altogether to then have no one.
Right.
So that's more of why they reached out to us. And the hope is the same with us, is that we're able to have, the ebbs and flows of enrollment and participation. There was a big
Right, a big class.
of graduating athletes, and that the people that came to replace them was not even close to the same. So that's where that is.
Okay.
And you're not necessarily expecting a great influx looking at the current 8th graders and 7th graders. I'm just thinking in that 2-year time
So
frame.
that's even with talking to the boys lacrosse coach and even bringing in the 6 to 8 kids that potentially could be coming from Fitchburg, we're still currently projected at less, like 5 to 6 kids less than what we had last year. So as part of I guess I could jump into one of the...
Go,
other-
yeah, just do the...
One of the other requests
Yeah.
was to have 8th grade boys be able, 8th grade waiver for boys to be able to participate on JV only in boys lacrosse, to help fill that piece so that there is enough to sustain that program. And that would only apply to the 8th graders in Lunenburg. That wouldn't...
Not the
that
8th
wouldn't be
grade, okay.
Pittsburgh 8th
Okay.
graders coming here as well. That's
Okay.
just for Lunenburg's 8th grade students to be eligible to participate in that boys lacrosse program.
And so what's your magic number for that boys team?
I asked the coach, he wanted 40 as a solid number, just because of the type of sport that it is. I think we'll get there. I hope. I'm not sure, but with every avenue that we're taking, I hope to get to those numbers. And then the other waiver, the other two 8th grade waivers, there was one for boys JV baseball. Again, that was a sport where we graduated 6. At the varsity level, there was 11 at the JV level last year. Baseball, they have changed the rules that we follow, where the state was going by Major League Baseball rules prior to this year. Now they've aligned with the National Federation of High School Sport rules. So that implements a pitch count amongst a variety of other things. But their coaches are now responsible to keep track of how much a student pitches and when they pitch in a game, and they're only allowed to pitch so many pitches in a given amount of days. So if we had the same numbers that we did last year for baseball, which was in total 25 or 24, if one of those kids on JV, I had to actually fill in for the coach that was sick one day for JV. We brought 11 kids to Littleton, and that's just 2 subs. So if our pitcher didn't do as well as he did that day, and we had to bring somebody else in, or somebody got hurt, they don't have enough for the next game to then play. So that's the biggest reason for that request, to bring up some 8th graders if there's interest there to be participating at that JV level. And it also in turn helps out the varsity level, where everybody knows spring in New England is a joy, especially for an athletic director, with rain and fields. And I wish someone would just make a dome so we have nice, not have to worry about making up baseball and softball games. But last year, there was a few different times that we ended up having to do double headers because of all the rainouts and postponements, and with all schools, with graduations, proms, award ceremonies, etc., trying to fit in all those games, that it's sometimes can become very difficult. And so if there are games that are back to back to back, not having to pull people up to pitch or to fill in from JV level to varsity level, you're now taking away from the JV level if they were at the same numbers that they were last year, they wouldn't be able to have.
What's your number for varsity? What do you think is your number for varsity this year for baseball?
For what I would like to have? Or
Well, what do you think is your returning number? Yeah, what's your returning number? What are you expecting? Returning players?
The same, I was expecting the same amount I'm hoping for the same amount as we did last year.
Yeah, what is
From
it?
the high school kids, that was 24.
24.
For both, that was
For
JV and
both?
varsity.
Okay.
So bringing in 8th graders, I would hope to get that number up to...
That's your magic number for both teams?
For 30 would be...
Magic? 30 would
yeah.
be your big magic number.
If not more.
But how many do you think were returning to baseball this year that played last year? Do you know?
Hopefully everyone.
I know you said, but what was the number? I don't know the number.
We had
Graduated 6, should be 18, right?
Yeah, 18?
18 returning, but that's not all on varsity. So you're going to say all...
No, so 18 players.
18 coming back, yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
But again, in that situation where the pitching and with injuries and everything like that, it's not a bad thing to have more.
Right.
And then the last one is more of, the boys and girls lacrosse are the ones that I know about. The other one is more of a timing thing. just in case, because registration, even with the implementation of the late fee as a deterrent, really hasn't been a deterrent for people registering, so it's kind of leaving me guessing as to how many people are actually signing up for teams, and putting me in a tough spot to try to figure things out as to whether or not I may really need those 8th graders to be participating. So I am requesting, as just in case, an 8th grade waiver for girls JV lacrosse, and that would only be because of the time frame of it. If I had to wait till the next school committee to come and present, now I'm already into when trials are about or are starting, so it would just, that wouldn't be opened up to 8th graders until pretty much either the day of trials or finding out the day before what my number truly is for that program.
So you say tryouts, but there wouldn't be any cuts also at the same time?
You can't, when you have an 8th grade waiver, you can't cut.
Not upperclassmen, but you can cut 8th
Well,
graders.
yes, not upper class. You can't cut people from the high school and bring those people up. That's only for the JV level with that.
So they could cut 8th graders.
Right. It's basically to end up, so let's hypothetically, there's 25 kids that play girls across, and you probably, my sport was soccer, so but I mean, I always try to keep around 18. So if I keep 18 on a varsity team, and I only have 25 coming out, I don't have enough to field the JV team. So I would, if there's 10 graders that come out, or 28 graders that come out, I'm keeping enough to be able to field a team.
So with that, if you had, let's say that, because there should be 26 girls returning for lacrosse, right? So what is the number? For how many freshmen are you thinking, are you looking for? And then what would be the number that you're not going to, if you get 33 with the freshmen, then you don't need waivers?
18 and 15, no, you'd be close where you probably...
Yeah, because you don't need them to field a team.
Right.
So...
Like I said, it's just, so if the day...
It's not to
of
boost their
trial-
number to 40, correct?
No. That's, so boys and girls lacrosse are totally two different sports.
Right.
With contact-wise. So
Okay.
the boys lacrosse program, their injuries are more of a, I'm not going to say a natural part of the game.
What's more common?
More common than
Yeah.
in girls lacrosse. And having, and the goal is to have enough where people don't have to keep bouncing back and forth between level just so that they can play a game.
I think it would be good to have a good concrete number so that parents are also aware and students are aware of how many spots are going to be available too as an 8th grader.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah, and I think right now he's saying he can't give you that numbers because people aren't signing up yet.
Lacrosse. He can do it for the other two. The other two are definitely going to be open to 8th graders. With girls lacrosse, the number's too close to open it up to 8th grade girls until everyone's done
Until he
signing
knows.
up. Yeah. He just wants it as a precautionary, just in case.
Right. And that's
It's probably unlikely.
That's probably why I came last year,
Yeah.
requesting that, to put that late fee in as a deterrent, but it hasn't acted as a deterrent. There's more people registering late now than they did last year. So,
So I think we need to increase that deterrent.
I can't.
I know.
No, we can.
I
We
think
can.
that's something that we should talk about
But
in a
that-
minute.
but
Because
that's-
it's not acting as a deterrent if people are willing to pay
Correct.
$25 extra.
And the biggest thing is, it's not...
It's not helping us
meant to-
plan.
I'm not trying
To make
to make money off of that. I'm trying to...
Plan.
give you the proper
Yeah.
information that I need so that when I come to
Right.
you, you know, oh, okay, well, James, you have X amount of kids signed up. Obviously, there's an issue there. You need to... But right now, I feel bad because I can't answer your questions with definite because I don't know. Monday, the registration deadline for athletics for the regular period, which has been open now, will be open for a month on Sunday. As of Monday, I sent out a reminder. Before I sent out the reminder, there was about 46 people registered for spring athletics. Since that reminder went out, another 50 people have signed up in 3 days. So right now, we're at 96 spring athletes, and last year there was over 200 spring athletes. So I still have a long way to go, and that late deadline is coming up in 3 days. And then they'll have another 2 weeks to register for sports still, but I'm still, I can't, it's becoming very difficult to plan and try to figure things out, so that's why I'm coming with a possibly needed.
Plan B.
Okay?
Yeah.
You ready to vote?
Sure.
I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the co-op team request with Fitchburg for the lacrosse team and the 8th grade waiver requests for the JV team only for JV baseball, JV boys lacrosse, and JV girls lacrosse.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, now we have to take a vote to appoint a signatory in absence of the chair, vice chair for payroll vouchers.
Correct. Or should there be a circumstance where there might be a conflict with
Yeah.
the one to sign a payroll, it's good for us to have
A backup.
a backup.
So who wants to volunteer for that?
Well, I'm just
It's actually-
wondering out loud if it should just be the secretary.
That was my thought,
That-
too.
that
It doesn't have to be a
logical.
specific person as much as
Yeah.
just probably a position. Makes
Yeah.
more
Yeah, I
sense.
think
Yeah.
That would be Mr. Layton in right now.
Yes.
yes.
For now.
For now.
For now.
'Cause he's hoping
The
that.
times they are changing.
Yeah. Okay, so I need a motion for that.
I will move that the person that is going to be appointed to sign payroll, should there be a conflict of interest for either the chair or the vice chair, be the secretary.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
I'll abstain.
Yeah, well, because you're the secretary right now. And now we have first reading for several policies, and that would be Ms. Bertrand and Mr. Levesque.
That would be us. That would
So
be-
just tell us what the policy numbers are, what they are, and then we'll waive the readings.
Did you find him?
Oh,
Okay?
I got him.
you-
It's first
Hold
reading.
on.
All right.
It's first reading.
First reading, I'm going to move to waive the first reading for these policies. First is under personnel, staff conflict of interest, 4101.02. The second is under students and instruction, school choice, policy 5103.01. Third is, again, under students and instruction, curriculum and instruction, 5201.01. Again, under student and instruction, homework, 5206. Under students and instructions, again, equal education opportunities, 5218. Actually, 5218 is not on the agenda, I just noticed. But it's in the folder. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
It's not on the agenda?
It's not on the agenda.
Oh, one.
Well,
521801, yeah, it's in as a first read, but it's not
Yeah.
But
listed
it's
there.
not listed on there.
5218.
It's not listed on here.
521801 either. And
So 5201.01 is on the agenda and in the folder. Here we go.
Oh, there it is, okay.
And then 5206, homework, that's on there.
And 5403
And
revised.
5403 revised for
Alcohol and tobacco.
and drug use. Right. So the ones that are on the agenda then, I will move that we waive the first reading and then move the other ones to the next agenda. The 520.
Yes, 5218, 521801. Second.
So you've moved to waive the reading.
We move to waive the reading and move,
Of the ones on the agenda. And the other two are just housekeeping.
we'll bring them back here.
Okay. All.
I think I seconded, didn't I?
Yes.
No, you.
I did.
Okay.
Wendy seconded.
Somebody seconded.
Are you all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. We have a donation?
We do. The Baseball Booster Club is donating an indoor batting cage, and this will allow our teams to maintain batting practice during the inclement weather in the springtime. and I would recommend that we accept.
Where is that going to be? Mr. Proctor, don't. Please don't.
Yes, tell us about it.
Yeah, tell us about this
Yeah.
beautiful donation.
Dan Proctor from the Lunenburg
Yep.
Football Club. So obviously conversations with James Bonner earlier, obviously a need for an indoor batting cage like he mentioned earlier. Springtime, New England, we never get on the fields in time. The boys can't hit, the girls can't hit. So it'll be set up at the old middle school, now the Turkey Hill Elementary.
Okay.
Heidi Champagne was gracious enough to stay late on Friday, the week before vacation, to let me get inside and measure and take pictures and what have you. Through fundraising, we were able to purchase the batting cage, and it has been delivered. We're ready to go, so
Awesome.
donate it to the school so that we can get it online soon.
Yep.
I know trials start the 16th, so
Yep.
we're really 3 weeks away.
Oh, yeah.
We're very excited. We were able to get a time slot through the company to, move it forward, and that's why we're here tonight.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to
Go for it.
approve this very generous donation with gratitude from the entire district. Thank you.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry for the disturbance.
Woke us up.
Thank you so much.
It woke us up, that's okay.
Okay, now on to annual town meeting, Mr. Murphy.
That's me.
That's Mr. Murphy.
Thank you. Dr. Vernon, members of the committee, thank you for having me. I've been the town moderator for either 10 to 12 years. I've totally lost track. When I started doing town meeting, one of the big discussions before we started the meeting was how long was it going to go, and did we need to have lunch? And so depending upon what was on the warrant, we either did or did not. And that was, as I said, 10 to 12 years ago. If we did break for lunch, they went over to the cafeteria at the old high school, and there was two ladies that were taking the money, and it would take an hour and a half or so to get through the line to get the pizza that they had ordered. So over time, what has happened is that, and I think it has to do a lot with the internet and social media, et cetera, and so on, but the meeting, and maybe it's my fault, but the meetings have gotten longer.
I think it's partly yours.
It's probably my fault.
I'm just going to say that.
It's got something to do with allowing more people to participate.
I know.
It's important. But what's happened, of course, is the meetings got longer and longer and longer. And we run the risk of losing quorum when we take a break.
Yep.
And we really can't afford to take a break, so that's been a significant issue. We have always allowed the adults in the room, we hope, to have food in the cafeteria, in the auditorium during the meeting. And that has been in existence for every year, except last year, apparently I hadn't asked permission, and at first we had a little bit of a stress over that, and then Dr. Vernon stepped in and said, we can do it, but let's have a meeting about it, let's present it to the school committee, and let's discuss it yourselves to make a decision on that. I will do everything in my power to ask the adults to act like adults and keep the place clean up after themselves, not to have messes. What I suggested to Dr. Vernon when we met before is that the ladies in the cafeteria would put together the type of bag lunch that we have done in the past, that it would be something that would be easily cleaned up, we would hope. No junk sandwiches or anything that we would expect would make a mess. We'll have water and things like that so that they can come in the morning, buy the lunch, snack on it during the course of the meeting. Last year we went 10 hours, I think. Right about 10 hours. We might have been a little bit over 10 hours. So it would help, I think, from what I understand, the ladies in the cafeteria like to make a little money that they can give to kids who don't have a lunch to buy. So that would allow that to happen, and that way we can control a little bit about what's going on in the auditorium at that period of time. So that's my primary reason to be here and to ask you to consider that. Just for the May meeting, we will have 1 or 2 other meetings during the course of the year. It's 2 or 3 hours, I hope, and people should come after dinner so that they shouldn't have any difficulty sitting through a couple of hours of the meeting. But for Saturday, to start at 9 and to get finished at 8, and ask them not to have anything to eat. They can go in and out, I'm sure, they can go out and grab a sandwich, but then they're going to come back and they're going to want to start a discussion that's already been discussed, ad nauseum, and that's going to be a problem. So it's disruptive to have them coming in and out, so I'd like to do that. The other thing I would like to do is just sort of logistically, when they set up last year, they had the ladies way in the back so that you wouldn't even know they were there. And I just asked Mr. Wanda if we could bring them up. In the morning, they have coffee and donuts for people that come early. And so that's the Women's Club in Lunenburg. They're making a little bit of a profit off of serving these things in the morning. It's kind of a nice social gathering, if you will. But we need to bring them up close enough so that we can, that people know that they're there. The layout of the room outside of the auditorium is different than it was at the old high school, where there was lots and lots of room. And we don't have that now. When Kathy sets up all the people that are doing registration and all of that, it takes up most of that area in front. So we need to bring them closer so that we can make sure that everybody can see their wares. So that's about it. I will get a number to the cafeteria ladies once Kathy Herrick tells me what the number is. There's a good finger on it, and she can kind of guess based upon the warrant how many, if there's a lot going on, we'll have a higher attendance and less. And then whatever's left over with the lunches, we can figure out how to donate, where to donate, what to do with it, I'm sure we'll somehow.
Do you know how much they're going to charge for the lunches?
Whatever they think they should. I'm sure it would be, a number where they're making a little bit extra. I'm sure it's, what it was in the past was just, a ham sandwich or a turkey sandwich, some chips and a bottle of water, and a chocolate chip cookie. That's what they did, and I don't remember what they charged.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
I just don't want them to waste it and have people say, I don't want to buy that because it's not $5.
Yeah. Well,
that kind of thing.
That's worth a try.
What? Because some people will bring their own lunch, too.
Well, and that's the question.
Right.
Is that
okay that people bring their own lunch, or do we tell them that they could only buy the bagged lunch?
See, that's...
And I'm going to try to do it with the social media, to put the word out and tell people that this is what we're doing, and promote it that way.
Right.
And tell them that we expect them to come and
With
buy
the bagged lunch. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, and I think the policy is that the school committee has set no food or drink in the auditorium.
The auditorium, yeah.
So we could say, unless it's authorized, unless it is authorized, right.
Right.
And so what we can say is only these meals can be brought into the auditorium.
We're not opening it up to other meals.
You can bring your own lunch, you just can't bring it into the auditorium.
Right. Only the brown bag lunch. Provided by the
We could have
cafeteria.
the cafeteria open if people wanted to
Have their own
order
lunch.
pizza.
Or if they wanted to eat their barbecue ribs.
Too much.
But we could set up tables in the cafeteria.
Yeah, we don't actually want them
for people
going
to
out
sit.
there, though,
No.
because we want them to take the brown...
We want them to remain engaged as well.
Yeah.
Right.
There'll be a bag lunch available. Bag lunches will be allowed in the
Yes.
auditorium. Only bag lunches will be allowed in the auditorium.
Okay.
Something like that.
Because you want them to remain engaged. You don't want
Yeah.
them. You don't
Right.
want
The
them
whole
taking
point of
off
having
a break to
the
have
back
lunch
That's right.
in the cafeteria or anywhere else.
Going down to the caf because
Right.
something boring is on the agenda, on the warrant at that moment. Want them to stay there, participate, get the business done, let us go home, that kind of stuff.
Okay. All right.
And I did speak with Dr. Burnham about this earlier, but there are some people that cannot eat a bag lunch like that. So she said that she would speak with the cafeteria people to make sure, like, there are a lot of people that can't have bread.
Gluten.
Somebody-
So therefore, there would be like a vegetarian and a gluten-free, just so people don't say, I have to have this because
My particular...
we are going to try to accommodate,
Yeah, I'm sure that would...
and
I'm sure they would make those...
that way.
Okay. All right, so I need a motion.
I'll move to allow bagged lunches to be
Provided by-
consumed in the auditorium provided by the cafeteria during town meeting in May.
Amen.
Okay.
I will second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Can I just put in a plug for Lisa McCullough? She used to be McCullough.
Yeah, we remember.
Right. I mean, she went to school with my daughter, so I... The mock trial team is phenomenal. and the experience. Was she still here?
Frida.
We sent her on my church years who worked today.
Yes, she got
I coached that team when my kids were at Parker for a long period of time. Kay Hillman ran this team for years. And of course, Tim Hillman, who's a federal judge, was their coach for many years. Okay, and just a phenomenal program. And what the kids learn standing on their feet to do these things, you know. And your daughter did it, and she did a phenomenal job when she did it. It's just a phenomenal program. And they need to recruit the kids. That's how you get them. And they're going to have a big, the first year we did it, we had 6 kids. I know the stress.
It's
We use snacks. I mean, really, it's high school kids. We have juice boxes and chips and
But it's the timing, because it's the winter sports, class plays, mock trial. It's just so much going on at that time.
And I will tell you, that these other schools, you know, the Grottons, it's built into the curriculum. They get
Right.
time during the
Right.
day. They're getting credit during the day for the program.
And they should.
I know. What Parker always did,
And they have a big, Parker has a big team.
Lisa did, you know, is it's always been after school
Yeah.
hours. And so the kids have to be very dedicated. So my hats off to you.
Should I move the question?
That's great.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Merkel.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, old business, final approval for the student council trip. Finally, Mrs. Guerin.
Thank you for having me, and I just wanted to apologize. I was in my room because I've been sneezing and
that's-
getting worse as the day goes on, so I didn't want to be tickling and sneezing and disrupting the meeting. So I'm here for final approval for the MASC, which is the State Student Council Conference, which is actually happening next week.
Yep.
Jen Myrie and I are going to take the kids down. The numbers ended up at 6, which allowed us to still use my minivan and Jen's car to bring the students down and back. Once they're down there, they use the bus transportation that the conference provides. So if you're any moving back and forth to the hotel, because this conference is so large that it actually, we have 2 hotels worth of kids.
Oh, my.
It's over like 1,300 kids, is what Kyle mentioned too. So the students that are going, Claire Delaney, Kyle Weiss, Drew Tobin, Robbie Nash, Ryan Burns, and Brittany Randall, which is a nice mix from all the classes, so that's good for that. I did look into, I think you had a suggestion about asking the classes to give money towards trying to alleviate some of the fee. And the advisors, I had the reaction I kind of anticipated that they would, that they're just so stressed out with the money and the lack of fundraising and the end product of that prom that costs so much money, that they were hesitant to let go of anything. We kept it at $400, which is where it was at last year. Again, the ability for me to be able to drive down there is huge, not having to deal with the bus cost. Our numbers also helped with being able to keep that cost down. And of course, the makeup of the boys versus the girls with the room sizes, you can have, it costs more money to have a double. So we have 2 girls going, but we have 4 boys going, so that brings that cost down to be reasonable. Some fantastic news, and I didn't think Kyle actually talked about it, but he's running for the vice president position at the state level, which is super exciting. So we're getting some of our little campaign attire ready to go, and so I actually wore this crazy kind of cowboy hat today all day. Didn't quite match my outfit, but a lot of kids asked. It was great to be able to talk him up about this great position that he's going for. We're also scheduled to do the polar plunge, and I was very happy to watch the weather last night and see that it's going to be about 65 here next Thursday instead of the 12, I think, that it was last year. It was crazy. So they'll be jumping in at the Craigville Beach, and they're super excited about that and definitely happy about the weather. So that's what the plan is, and so if you'll give us that final approval, that would be fantastic.
I need a motion to.
I will move to approve the student government trip to the Cape for their convention.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yep.
And we'll have kids come back
Yeah, and report.
chat about it for
Okay.
sure. I just have one more quick thing, if I could throw that
Yeah.
in with the student rep situation. Hopefully the last meeting or even the meeting before, you had mentioned possibly rotating through kids. It is such a giant commitment, and you're talking about, in this case, it was Claire Delaney this year. As the president, nobody wanted to do it, so she stepped up to try to do it. And so we're basically going to try to take the lead, if it's okay with you guys, and try to rotate through the rest of the schedule with a few kids.
Yeah.
And see how that works.
Yeah,
And if
okay.
that works well,
That way
then-
it's not as big of a deal for one kid.
Right, and so we're going to try that and see if that either does one of two things. If it works, great, then we've got kids at every meeting for sure. I'm a little nervous about the lack of consistency with that. So what it also might do is have somebody have the experience, like a Kyle, for example, who might really like to do that. And I think we'll know better next week if that would be something he'd like to take if he gets his vice president position at the state level. There's no way he'll be able to do it because he'll just be so busy with the involvement at the state level. But I have a feeling that he enjoys it, and depending on what happens, might be willing to take it as a sole role and have a backup, which is what we've typically done. But we're going to give the rotation a try if that's okay with you guys.
I think that makes sense, and even Kyle can be a mentor and tell him the ropes of how it works.
Or be more consistently there and just have, we're trying to think about getting some of the younger kids involved so that they see that opportunity and maybe take more of a role with it as it comes.
I think the younger kids have a hard time with the driving and then sitting, because the older kids can at least drive themselves here and then
That's exactly what it is.
Right, but we're talking like more juniors, maybe possibly a sophomore.
Right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, not necessarily freshmen.
Right.
But some of them, we had a couple of younger ones speak up about wanting to.
Yeah, and if their parent doesn't care and...
Yeah, and so if you have to just spring, if it works, then maybe we'll try that route next year to alleviate some stress for the kids.
Okay.
One thing we had talked about last year, and it would be able to be done sort of digitally and wouldn't necessarily have to be the student who comes here, is to see if they could get a snippet from each of the other schools. Just because as a student representative, it would be awesome to hear a couple of things going on at the primary, some things going on at Turkey Hill, so it's not exclusively
the high school.
I'm going to be honest with you, because that's how I roll.
I know.
We expect nothing less.
To have a student, first of all, show up at this rotating basis, that's the big concern. But then having those students have to reach out, they would have to probably reach out to the principals.
Yeah.
And I know my principal gets 150 to 200 emails a day.
Oh,
so he gets
you're right,
more
you're
to
right.
have to respond to these kids. I think a lot of this information is on the calendars.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that might be a way for the students to maybe look at those calendars and try to tell them what they think's going on.
Right.
But that's kind of public information for the
Yeah.
most part. I can't imagine one more thing for the kids to do and one more thing for our principals to have to report on.
Okay.
You know, we get the 2-week update, and I know that's what our school does.
Yeah.
The other schools with a pitter patter, I think it used to be called. I don't want to dump another thing on the kids or the principals to do. So, I mean, we can do it if you'd like. But that's just my concern. My honest opinion about trying to do that too. Especially on a rotating basis.
Yeah, okay.
But more concerned for the work that's
Yeah.
happening to those people.
Okay.
And let me know officially how you feel about it. Or we can give it a try and see, but,
No, we can just, let's try the rotation first.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then we'll
Yeah.
talk beyond that.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Thank you.
Let you know how it goes next week.
Okay. Have fun.
Feel better.
Okay, now the Philadelphia music tip.
Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for having me. I'm here to present the final itinerary for the music department's Philadelphia trip. And I handed out a copy of the updated itinerary so you can see. I'll just kind of do a brief overview. We have 29 students participating, 5 parents, 1 grandparent, and 3 staff members. We're going to be going for 4 days and 3 nights. The cost of the trip includes the bus for the entire trip, 6 meals, and all of the venues that we'll be stopping at. And the cost was $919 per student, but with a $1,000 donation from the Musigators, it brought it down to $885 per student. So we were thrilled about that, and so were the students and families. The basic overview of the trip is as we had planned. The first day, we're going to be stopping at Allentown High School in New Jersey. And their band came up here last year, so we're kind of doing an exchange back down there. So it'll be a great opportunity for our students, both band and chorus, to perform with them, rehearse with them. We'll do a little potluck dinner, and then head to our hotel. And then we'll be stopping at the zoo, the Franklin Institute, and the Eastern State Penitentiary. And then on the way back, we'll be heading through Times Square in New York to see Aladdin. And we'll return on Saturday. It's going to be a great trip. We're really excited. We started rehearsing the music. We have a parent-student meeting coming up in March. to collect all medical forms and go over those final details, and ready to rock and roll.
Anybody have any questions?
No?
No?
No, it looks great.
Yep.
So I'll make a motion to, I'll make a motion to approve the Philadelphia music trip.
Second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. That
Sounds like fun.
Now we're going to do the budget for next year, 21.
There it is.
Did you find that?
OP discussion.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
No, I got it. Copy discussion. Aye. What's that right here? Let me refresh.
This is regular, yeah, go back, it's just moving.
Well, we're getting into that.
Oh, I think that I really would. Still might have to put up myself. I know.
Well, it could be
Are
Poco.
you connected to the Wi-Fi?
So, yeah, that's a good question.
Okay,
Doesn't look like it
yeah.
now.
It's not up to you.
I'll just follow it.
So we wanted to bring back an update
Thank you.
with the adjusted budget. Again, the goal here is for us to be able to
Execute the mission and vision of the Lunenburg Public Schools. Our budget priorities were to develop a budget that meets student needs and aligns with the strategy for continuous improvement objectives. We've gone through this budget process before in the prior presentation in January. And if you remember, when we presented the budget on January 22nd, the budget that we were proposing was a 4% increase. So previously, there were some budgetary unknowns. One of those was the health insurance. The budget that we presented to you in January factored in a 6.5% increase for health insurance. However, the numbers are in, and it's a 0.66% increase, not a 6% increase. We are doing a happy dance. Yeah, yeah,
I thought it was going to be around 3.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
at some point, we had talked about, you may or may have not seen a budget that was, I think we had thrown into 3.7%.
Yeah.
And, this is also good news for employees, too, because their contributions are only going up 0.66%. So it's a big win.
It was 11% several years ago.
Yeah.
So this is so nice.
It's a relief.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really,
Yeah.
really good. Wow.
And when we presented on January 22nd, that afternoon, the governor released his budget. So we had a chance to take a look at that. So there you have the total figure for the Chapter 70 funds for FY21 for Lunenburg, $7.9 million. That's actually an increase of 2% from FY20. The dollar amount translates to an additional $155,000.
Okay, that's when we go like that, we'll be.
Right,
That's
right.
the new balance, okay, that's the one, okay, so that's not as exciting.
Right. So these two things were unknown and not factored in to the budget that we presented back in January. So what does this mean now? What are the budget scenarios? So if we look at the budget that we presented adjusted for the health insurance increase, instead of a 4% increase, it's actually a 3.24% increase. And in that budget, you would remember that we included an assistant principal. Yep, the full-time psychologist, the special ed teacher at Turkey Hill. We would reinstate the building leadership stipends, and we would, we had included all of the expense lines that were requested by each building and department. If we have to reach that target that has been provided to us by the town manager, that 2.5% increase, we think that we will be able to include a part-time psychologist, not the full-time, the special ed teacher, those building leadership stipends, and we would have to make reductions to the school expense lines. And we wouldn't likely be able to have the assistant principal position if we're at a 2.5.
And those expense line reductions are 0.5% more than what you had in the proposed budget. It was 3.5% down, I believe it was. For total
Well,
expenses.
let me go back up.
Well, right, but the total expenses was minus 3.5%, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And so now we're looking at minus 4%. So we're taking additional supplies, whatever else is needed away from the classroom.
What is the actual dollar figure from the 3.24 to 2.5?
155,000.
Exactly. 155.
Oh, the chapter 70 one.
Well,
That figure, it's the
The-
same
the-
figure.
they could double it.
Yeah.
It is the same figure though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I've been asked on a couple of occasions, what about if there was somewhere in between? So we took a look at that. For us to be able to include the assistant principal, the special ed teacher, a part-time psychologist, the building leadership stipends, and the reduction of expense lines, that would put us around 2.9%.
I'm sorry, what figure?
Money figure, the difference.
Between the 2.9 and the 3.24, so about 63,000. And that's, the difference there is that instead of full-time psychologists, it would be part-time.
Part-time.
That's what the little asterisk is.
Yeah, those are the reductions.
And still reduction in the expense line.
Yep.
To make up the balance.
But you're getting the assistant principal.
So we are getting,
Right.
we would just, and we're getting closer to the overall needs to be met.
Yes,
Right.
I'm not going to call it 5-year plan, because we know it's not going to happen in 5 years.
Right.
But the overall
staffing needs.
staffing needs for the students. And I'm assuming what is the FinCom meeting you're presenting these numbers?
March 12th.
Oh, so we have...
Right after.
We have a meeting March 11th.
And then it's the next day.
Right.
That's why we have the 11th meeting. So we can, and then they'll approve it, and then they'll have to approve.
So that's something that I think that, we need to have some discussion around tonight, what our next steps would be, what your wish would be for the rest of the process. But let me just move through the next couple of slides. So I want to remind everybody that there are still some budgetary unknowns. We won't know the circuit breaker numbers until the end of the fiscal year. The federal and state grants, we typically learn what our allocations are late July, early August. We still have not settled contracts with the 4 units that we're bargaining with this year, or individual contracts as well. And the other unknown that has a budgetary impact is the enrollment. Right now, the numbers for kindergarten enrollment do not concern me. We're not seeing an early, high number of kindergarten students registering. So that's potentially good news. But students can register right up until school opens. So we have to be cautious on that. And our plan, based on the numbers that we have now, next year we're planning to maintain 6 kindergarten classrooms. Each of those would have a paraprofessional with them. We would have 6 grade 2, but the numbers from the kindergartens now, we should be able to roll up to first grade to 5 classrooms of 25. Again, if enrollment over the summer, if we see registrations in the first grade of 10 students, then we need to look at this again. And we'd have to evaluate where we are with kindergarten numbers. Perhaps we could have 5 kindergartens and roll that 6th teacher up to the first grade and have 6 first grades. This really and truly is going to have to be something that we monitor enrollment. And this is something that we're not going to have a definitive answer for you probably by town meeting. Registrations continue, like I said, all year long. Students move into town and they come and register for school. So we have to be monitoring this situation. And we'll keep you updated if we see that the numbers are starting to give us some level of concern.
Can I add one thing?
Sure.
So the Monty Tech assessment that the town is going to be getting, it will be next week. So that'll be, once we know that, that might adjust the town's allotment to this, to increase our budget. So that's a town unknown, not necessarily a school department unknown.
Right.
But we'll know that hopefully before that March 11th meeting. Okay?
So the process, we've obviously started through many stages of this process already, but what remains ahead of us at this point, we still need to make a determination as to when we want to have the budget hearing. Traditionally, you hold that budget hearing the first meeting in April, which this year would be April 1st. We are required to post that meeting in the newspaper. So we need to know ahead of that time so that we would be able to have that announced in a publication. Is it something that you want to consider moving to March 18th? Do we want to leave it April 1st?
What would be any change? I was just going to say, between them, if hand in hand with that comes a look to us for approval. So if we don't have a whole lot more in the way of answers,
Right.
giving approval.
So this year, we were asked by the Finance Committee to come forward and present a budget that had been approved by the school committee. Potentially, we would know something when we're at our March 11th meeting relative to the Monty Tech assessment, and whether or not that frees up any monies that are currently allotted to the budget to support Monty Tech. That's what happened for us last year. The Monty Tech assessment came in less than what the town manager had budgeted, and those monies then were reallocated to us. So, I mean, it's possible that...
What kind of money is that? Just if we're looking, because the reality is you're looking at 2.5, which is in initial conversations where, what the town manager has put out there, and 2.9, which is kind of our middle of the road. Personally, I don't want to see anything less than that. Like, where, numbers-wise, are we going to know anything that would bridge that gap enough between the 2.5?
What was the assessment last year?
That was kind of what I'm asking.
Didn't we save 80,000 last year?
Could Monty Tech give us enough to bridge that gap enough? I'm thinking not.
$63,000. No, it was 30-something?
Yeah.
Each point one is 21,000.
Okay, thank you.
It's just 21,000.
So each point one is 21,000.
So we're
I
talking...
don't know, because we went from 2.5 to 3. It was a 0.5% of our budget.
I guess the question
I thought it was like 80 grand.
Yeah.
is, what information will be available to us on March 19th that isn't available to us on March 18th? Or up until the first meeting of April? What new information would we possibly have? Because if there's no new information,
Correct.
I don't see any reason to wait.
Correct.
Correct.
Personally.
Right, if we're not, if there's nothing more, we'll
Doesn't matter.
garner between April, between March 18 and April 1, yes.
I think the only information I could see would be the public, that would make sure that we have that question and answer session for the public. Financial information.
Right.
We could technically have the hearing, which includes that input, on March 18th.
Yes.
And we could vote for the report on that day.
But when you're
March
presenting
18th or
to
the
them
11th?
on March 12th.
March 18th is what they're talking about.
You're presenting to FinCom
On the 12th.
So basically, what we had decided at our last meeting, which is why we moved our meeting to March 11th, was that we were going to tell her we didn't vote on the budget, but that we supported one budget over the other, so she could present that budget. Not that we were voting on it, we were telling her that we supported her decision, so she could bring it to FinCom. That is what we talked about, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then I think that we stay the course with that part, and if you want to move the hearing to March 18th and have the Q&A session at the same time, then we can do that. That way then they have our budget earlier than April 1st. What do you?
Unless there's something that could materially alter
Right.
any of the numbers
And the only
between the
thing
18th and the 1st.
Right, and I think
That's
Monty
the
Tech
only
assessment
one.
is going to come in before that, correct?
Correct.
And all the other numbers are coming in after that,
Right.
so probably.
And if anything new were to materialize, we could bring back a recommendation to you April 1st, notify you of some sort of change, make a recommendation, and you could re-vote
Right, okay.
the budget at that point, based on new information. I don't think that there will be new information between March 18th and April 1st.
Last year, what we received from the town was greater than initial discussions. Remind me timeline-wise, when that happened?
That happened at the point that all of the departments had presented to the Finance Committee. Key last year for us receiving some additional monies, it didn't account for every additional dollar that we got, but largely it was due to the monies that had been budgeted for Monty Tech that were not needed, and those monies were then applied to the school department.
That just answered a big question in my head. Right.
I'm along your lines thinking that the 2.9 middle of the road is something that, to me, sounds very reasonable, but until we get all the rest of the numbers, because what we don't know is, we're getting an extra 0.5% of expense reductions. We haven't seen what the line items are.
Right.
And what expenses are we looking at cutting? Who's going to be affected by those as well? It needs to be part of the discussion.
My view, I would say we shouldn't back away either from the 3.24, where it may be more challenging to get that part-time psychologist, and we shouldn't be reducing our expense lines at the same time in the economy that we're in.
No, and for me, that would absolutely be the goal. But in thinking realistically, you know, I mean, just where we may end up in spite of what we feel
The incremental
is in the
steps.
best interest of the students in our district.
I think it's great that we have those options and potential.
It's always good to see at those three different points what we have and what we didn't.
I think it's important for the public to see these different
Absolutely.
options as well, so we can hear from them at the Q&A.
Right, and
Correct.
what they're going to be missing if we don't have full budget.
Yeah, and I think that until I knew what the Monty Tech assessment came in at, I wouldn't want to say that I'm willing to go to the 2.9 until I see what that assessment is.
Well, I don't even know if they'll bring us to the 2.9.
Well, we need to
Yeah.
see what the assessment is.
And when did the town manager say she would have that?
Some point next week.
Next week, by the end of next week.
Is it in front of us?
So we should have that,
I think that's the wrong one.
we should have that information for you for the 11th.
I know, but it goes on the agenda.
Okay, so, for the Q&A and hearing on March 18th, we have to publish that in the paper.
Yes.
How many days in advance? Was it 14 or 7?
I think it was 7.
Not 7?
I think it was 7, but honestly, we can put that together and send that off and have that
In there.
published for next week.
Okay. Will she take it that late? Deadline is noon on Tuesdays. She will? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get it and it'll be in next week.
March 5th.
Oh, right,
Not
next
this
week,
week,
right,
right.
right, I'm sorry. I was thinking this right.
No.
Right.
And then have her put it in for the next few weeks until.
And we'll post it on the website. We can push, last year we pushed a communication out to notify everyone that the time, the location for the budget hearing.
The bulletin board in front of town hall,
Yeah.
the marquee in front of the school,
Mhm.
or in front of Ritter, or in front of the...
Well, we have to actually request to have that space.
Yes, we do
Yeah,
request.
We might be in a queue for things. There's a lot of things that start happening this time of year, so, yep.
And, yeah.
Facebook, your Facebook page. Mhm.
Right.
I don't see it.
I just double checked the Monty Tech presentation is March 5th.
Okay.
So we would definitely have that number by the 11th.
Okay.
So then we would bring back detailed information on these scenarios for you for the 11th. Do you want to have a question and answer at the 11th meeting? Or do you want to wait until the 18th?
Personally, if we're providing the detailed level on the 11th, if we have any citizens who are interested in getting into those details, to have those discussions, I think
The
this would give
18th.
them time to look through the
Yeah,
details
yeah.
and digest it, just like we do.
Sure.
Because my guess would be we receive that maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday before the meeting, and I'd be more comfortable giving some time to think through.
Okay.
On the 11th, are we making that recommendation though for her to go
Yeah.
to the finance committee
Yeah.
as well with one of those? So
Yeah.
I would also want the public feedback on the 11th as well.
So,
We're not voting on it.
No, right. Well, we have the feedback, the public comment that we give. Necessarily doing this.
It's just, if
Yeah.
we, right, if we have Q&A at the 11th, is the suggestion.
we can always post as soon as we can finalize, right? We hear from the town manager after Monty Tech presents on the 5th. We make the adjustments for these scenarios, put those documents together. As soon as we have those finalized, we can get them to you. We can also post them on the website and send out a notice that they are posted, and that there will be an opportunity for questions on these budget scenarios on the 11th, and people will have another opportunity if the public hearing is on the 18th.
The way you have it laid out is clear and concise. So I think even if someone arrived here and, slides were out, it's digestible at that moment what the differences would be.
Yeah, and we can, and we will for the presentation to the Finance Committee. We'll be able to delineate exactly what types of expenses would be cut, as we did last year.
Actually, yeah. That's my part. I don't think it was too in-depth last time. It wasn't like we took up a lot of time. There wasn't a lot of people coming to do the Q&A. And if it's something like this PowerPoint, it's not very detailed, but they're going to have a lot of stuff to review beforehand.
Right, I mean, we could put together the slide that would ultimately end up in the presentation to the Finance Committee that outlines what the expense, like where they're being cut from, right? So that people will know what the impact is for those expense lines being cut.
Okay, we can have a Q&A section. I don't know how long you want to have it, because last time it was our whole meeting and we had one person come. So I think it's just a little block of our, right?
Block of time.
Just a little block of time, not the whole meeting.
Transparency.
Yeah.
Small box fine.
I don't know. Well, the time limit obviously is the chair.
Yeah.
How long I'm going to stay on the agenda.
Right.
So,
I guess it just depends on how many people are here.
yeah.
But we are going to...
I wouldn't want to limit anybody from having...
Oh, not at all. I just want to make sure we're not having a meeting just for that.
Right.
Right.
No,
We are not-
we're already meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
But, yeah, I wouldn't... and I
No, we took the
certainly
whole
wouldn't-
meeting up for that last time,
We will. We did plan a larger meeting for that. Yes, we did.
and no business was done.
With the exception of the school choice vote.
Yes, the school choice vote, but for Q&A section, so that's not happening. We will have a block of time.
So thoughts on where the Q&A should go in the agenda? Do you want it first thing? Do you want it at the end?
Because I think, yeah.
First thing?
Well, I think maybe you do the budget,
The update?
presentation, and
First thing
then
we
Q&A.
on the agenda with budget versus somewhere else in the agenda.
Yeah, like lower.
After
You
the
know, What?
after student rep.
Yeah. Well, it would be, it's not new business, though, yeah.
It would be
So I
after the FY21 budget update presentation.
That's way down under old business.
Well, it is old business.
Does it always have to go in that order?
No, but
You could vote to take things out of order. It's just if somebody is looking at the agenda and they see that the budget and the Q&A is later because it's under old business.
It's harder to time when you arrive.
Mhm.
If it's, the third from last thing, that's challenging.
Right.
There's nights where we blow through these agendas, and there's nights where it's a lot longer. And
Right.
sometimes just the sheer volume on here doesn't always give you an idea of how long things take. So I'm thinking close to the top.
If you want to encourage people, you need to have it towards the...
Well, that's what I think.
Right.
Well, why
I was
can't we just
thinking
do it as a
after the
question?
student has given their report, they can leave.
Let's say
So-
we have a team.
If we have, well,
Then if we don't, then
but
we
you put it on the agenda assuming you have one. Right. So we call it order, do the chair's report, do the student rep report,
Public comment.
No, because we're having the Q&A. There's going to
then
be no...
do, well,
Could be for other
it could be other items, right. But I mean, after, well, because you have public
This
comment
is
right now
nitpicky.
after chair's.
Yeah, we can
I've got to get this out later. Yeah, we don't need to do this right now.
Okay.
You can send it earlier.
Well, to get the public engaged, they want to come, get it done, and leave. They don't want to sit here like till 9, waiting for us to get to this. Number 12 agenda. I just know that they're not going to want to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
I would like to acknowledge and thank the members of the leadership team that are here tonight as a show of support for the budget scenarios that we presented for you tonight. I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Long day.
Very long day, but they're very committed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you still have the superintendent goal progress update?
So do you want artifacts this late or
No.
No. Can I just hit the power?
I used to know if you
Well,
were.
the Beckett's primary.
I would, as a general update, just say that I feel at this point with all 4 goals, I'm on track, timeline. The goal 1, district improvement, moving forward with a focus on teaching and learning. The strategy for continuous improvement identifies 4 strategic objectives: transforming teaching and learning, cultivating climate and culture, communication and operations, and equity, access, achievement, and opportunity for all students. And that's designed to impact teaching and learning district-wide and would require the development and execution of strategic priority action plans over the next 3 to 5 years with progress reports. So what I provided you for artifacts was the strategy that was presented and approved by you in the fall. The school committee meeting agenda for the night that was approved, and the minutes that reflect that strategy was approved. You have copies now of all of the action plans that were written. I included, just for convenience for all of you, a column for progress notes. So you can see in that last column actions that have been undertaken or completed for each of those actions outlined in the plan. So you're actually getting 2 artifacts in one with that, because one of the other things that I was going to provide for you was a report of progress on all of the action plans. So you have that report now. Any questions on goal 1? Okay. Goal 2, the district improvement plan centered around a student-centered budget development. I think that we've all been engaged in that entire goal there. So again, you have artifacts of the budget timeline memo that was shared with all of the building leaders and department leaders. You have a copy of that staffing plan that was designed this fall. You have meeting agendas, minutes, and a PowerPoint presentation of the priority needs that were identified for FY21. You also have a copy of the meeting agenda, minutes, and the proposed FY21 budget PowerPoint, and the budget documents that accompanied that PowerPoint. So at this point, all of the steps that can be completed in this process have been. So again, we're on track with that goal. Goal 3 is a student learning goal, increasing student access to learning. We know that students must have their basic needs met in order to be cognitively available to learn. Therefore, by April 2020, the instructional leadership team will increase student access to learning by assessing the social, emotional, behavioral needs of each school, determining what tiered supports and interventions are needed, pilot supports and interventions, and have a recommendation for a tiered system of supports and interventions that we can implement for next year. A lot of work has been underway on this in each of the buildings. And it looks a little bit different in each of the buildings because they're at different places. They have different needs based on the ages of the students that they serve. So you have some artifacts. You have a lot of artifacts that I shared from the primary school. As an example, we've been working with a consultant around strategies to support students with some behavioral needs. We've implemented some school-wide practices to support the initiation of a tiered system of supports, classroom, whole class, smaller targeted supports for a group of students who might need some additional support, and more intensive supports for students who really have a significant need. But all of the buildings have been taking a look at what the needs are for their building. We did the survey last year, and we've been analyzing data at the high school level around the social emotional needs, the stress needs. We've implemented Break Free from Depression as a curriculum at the middle school last year. They're continuing with that this year. We have looked at data that, and we will be able to present some of this to you at a future meeting. The Department of Ed conducts a student survey when they administer the science MCAS test for grades 5, 8, and 10. That survey is students' voice talking about their learning environment, their comfort level. We had some pretty good results through those surveys, so we will be presenting that information to you. There's a lot happening around this. We dedicated our PD time all year to trainings, workshops, presentations, all connected to behavioral health. The work of the Behavioral Health Committee Council has continued, and soon they will be supported by a sister council, if you will, because we will be starting an equity advisory council before the year is out. So again, there's lots happening here, and we look forward to giving you a report at the end of the year as to recommendations for next year. And lastly, the new superintendent induction program. I've been attending all of the full-day workshops. The cohort is starting to dwindle a bit. There have been some folks who have stepped away from the role of superintendent already.
The new ones?
The new ones, yeah.
When they all came on at the same time as you? Wow, that is upsetting.
Well, one of the members of the cohort, the superintendent in Peabody, passed away at Thanksgiving.
Oh my.
Unexpectedly.
Yeah.
So there are life changes that happen for everybody all the time. And this job is truly a 24/7
Oh, absolutely.
job.
Oh, absolutely.
So sometimes when life changes, you have a difficult time making that 100% commitment to the role. So some folks have decided that
maybe that wasn't the role.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's still a big cohort.
Yeah, it was 30.
We've only lost a few.
It was 30 something, right?
It was 42.
42. Oh.
Yeah, which
Wow.
is more than double what their typical
yeah.
cohort size is. So we keep talking and sharing and learning, and one of the things that I'm really excited about, the meeting that we had a couple of months ago, they provided us a lot of really fantastic resources to start to dig in and do some analysis around equity in your district. What does it look like? How do you know? What data can you look at? It's extremely comprehensive. It's all research-based. We actually know what reports we can run through the Department of Ed databases to give us some data to assess where we are in terms of equity. We have lots of great work ahead of us on that front, and I'm actually really excited about it. And we have a few staff members who are already starting to be the emerging leaders in this topic area. So I'm excited to start to form that group that will take this on. It's going to be exciting. Looking forward to it.
That's a lot of information you gave us.
And that actually
And
wasn't all of the information I could have given
That is
you.
a lot, though.
I decided that at some point, okay, well, a sample from here and a sample from there might be enough. I probably could have shared 100 documents with you, but I tried to pick some representative samples of things to demonstrate the work is going on. And you've had several presentations by groups this year, so you know firsthand right from them the work that they've been doing, so lots of good stuff happening.
Any questions?
No questions.
All good?
Just,
Thank you.
Yeah,
very, very
amazing.
thorough, and
I know.
we're all very impressed.
Yeah.
And that was what we were hoping when we hired you,
Yeah.
that you would take that wonderful collected vision and gather the forces and move forward, and that's what you're doing.
Yep.
Yep.
And I personally appreciate the transparency that you brought to the role, in terms of communicating to not just us, but to the public, and making sure that people are valued for their contributions. I see how you interact with your leadership team
Phenomenal
here.
staff.
Yes, and you publicly
leadership team.
praise them.
Yeah.
Which says quite a bit about you. But so thank you.
Yeah.
As well as a connection to our budget, which is, an interface with the town and the community. It's always clear in our budget what we need, why we need it, who and what it supports. And I think that's something we lacked for a long time in how we looked at our budgets. So how they were created, and the meaning behind them has become much more transparent and not only good for those, with students in the school district, but for the community at large.
Well, it's just easy for the community to digest her budget,
Yes.
as opposed to in the past.
Well, and I think one of the questions that we had asked the applicants was, how the budget is a reflection of your values.
Yeah.
And I think that these last two budget rounds have been a good reflection of the values of student-centric administration and student-centric teaching.
Thank you.
Anything that you want to provide me feedback, something you want more of or differently presented for the final update and artifacts at the conclusion of the cycle?
No, I like seeing that added column of progress and how you're measuring.
So what I can do for that is any notes of progress that I add between now and an update later in the year, I can put them in a different color font, so you
Or
can see what
italicized or
that
something,
is. Sure, at this point.
You color coded.
That will
I'll
help us for
color
her
code.
evaluation.
And that was
I have
fabulous.
The teacher in me.
The teacher in you color
It's hard to like squash the teacher in me. I will color code.
That's going to be amazing.
It's a rainbow of
Yeah.
data.
And do you have more time to do that?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, now we can move on to the reports, right?
Yep.
Okay. Brian, you haven't had one. You have one coming up, correct?
Yes.
Athletic advice, Monday.
Monday here.
Monday here in the...
6:30 is going to be the
Thank you,
athletic
everyone.
advisory committee.
Thanks for you.
Thank you.
They're all leaving.
Okay.
We'll be talking about policy, a little bit of state
Yeah,
law, and
yeah.
raffles.
Okay.
Some of that in our agenda.
Okay, great. FinCom, Carol.
I do have a copy of the town manager's initial budget, if anybody wants to look at it. Oh, that's the wrong one, but I do have it in somewhere. There it is, if anybody wants to look at that. This year, there's less new growth in the town, so there's less property taxes that are being raised. The governor's aid is overall less. Many of the departments did come in with above-target requests, ours included. And the town manager did include a goal to revisit the school target once the unknowns became clearer. Last week's meeting, the Council on Aging and the library requests were explained as above target, and the land use department came in at target, and the health insurance came in at 0.66% increase, as she told you. So that's basically what I've got. And this week it is the fire department and the police.
Okay. Policy? We waived first readings. Do you have another meeting coming up?
We have another meeting on the 16th, right before
Quorum?
public contest, right before public, the
Before-
community sense.
But I realized,
There's a new conflict on that.
There's no conflict?
because
Okay.
we'll have to figure that out.
Okay, well,
Isn't that
we had a
quorum?
meeting.
I mean, caucus?
Caucus,
It is
yeah.
caucus, and I
Caucus.
probably have to be there by like 6:40, 6:45 at the absolute latest, so that doesn't leave us a ton of time
Okay.
for a meeting.
Well, you can work that out.
We'll figure
You
that
guys
out.
can work that
We got
right?
that.
Okay. PTO had a meeting on the 10th. They have Roll on America events happening. They've already earned their $1,000 from there. They had an Art on the Rocks attended by 26 people, with which they've made $260. Wednesday, the 18th, we have a meeting, March 18th, but between 5 and 8 they have, it's at O'Neill Cinema. It's 20% of all the food and drink, including alcohol. If you go there, they'll receive 20% of all the food and drink.
On the
It's
18th?
Pizza Palooza, it's
We're
called.
going to be here.
I know, we're going to be here, but, it's called Pizza Palooza over there. They are working on a martial arts fundraiser. Parents' Night Out is Friday, April 3rd, and it's a flashback to the 90s theme. It's at the Alex Lemonster, $25 per person in a cash bar. They were talking about having a lunch with you, or coffee with Kate.
Okay.
And they wanted to get that to maybe some people to get more engagement going, and because,
See if it works.
yeah, okay. And
I
because...
did have coffee and cookies at some point.
Did you? Because they don't have a lot of participation either, and like I said,
Correct.
Kate's Coffee
the
Cottage.
president is looking to step down, and they need someone to take over, or we're just going to have no PTO at some point if parents don't get in gear. What else is? Oh, they were having a membership drive, and they got 8 additional members in their membership drive. Yeah, it's really upsetting and depressing. Teacher Appreciation Week is May 4th through 8th. They're going to do something based on MCAS dates. Also, the scholarships are for the seniors. They want to make sure everyone's aware that they had to be a PTO member since high school. So that for this graduating class would be 8th grade.
Yes.
So they're going to, the scholarship should be out in the guidance office soon, and it's $1,500. I think that was it for them. Oh, Community Reading Day, but I think the somebody had approached them, they don't do it, but I think that our athletic director has worked out something with the primary school, and he's having student athletes
So this year,
read.
student athletes are going to go be community readers
Yep.
at the primary
Awesome.
school
Yep.
on Community Reader Day
Which is
next week,
the 5th, Thursday the 5th. Isn't that wonderful?
Excellent.
Yep, so
Really?
that is, yes. So that is all for the PTO.
Yeah, I remember last year in the athletic advisory, I think right about the time I transitioned it over to you, they were talking about engaging the student athletes more into community stuff, so that's really
Yeah,
great.
it's great.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
So is the PTO involved in that?
No, it never was. It's just that the person who ran it last year left the district, and nobody, they just didn't know what was going on, so nothing happened. There was going to be no community reading day. So I don't know who reached out and how that worked out.
So that
Oh.
actually, it's too bad that
He's gone.
Mrs. Girton has
Yeah.
left. She's actually planning events the entire week. They've got
Great.
different, it's something akin to the Spirit Days that they have at the high school.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a week-long celebration of reading with the Community Reading
Yeah.
Day.
And Dr. Seuss's birthday.
And Dr. Seuss's birthday is that week.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
it's all about, the Dr. Seuss's birthday, community
Yeah.
reading day, it all is together. So,
Lots of good stuff.
yeah, I think he has like 20-something, maybe, student athletes he's talked to. I don't know, it could be 15.
We have a list. I don't,
Yeah.
it might be closer to the 15.
15, okay.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
But that's awesome.
yeah. School councils,
The primary school met on February 12th. They had mentioned something for Denise Galloway, they're still working on that. We also talked about a potentially new app, Pick My Kid. Basically, the parents would be getting an app, well, if they
Yeah.
fall through with this, it would be the parents would have an app on their phone, and as they get close to the school, they would actually recognize that phone, that app, from that particular parent, and they'd have their kids ready for them, and it'd be a better
In the pickup
better
line.
transition.
Is that what
to the
you're saying?
Pickup lines.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and the teachers would have the app as well, and they could dismiss the kids to whether they're going to pickup or whether they're going to bus, and it would all be more electronic based.
And,
Wow.
and if there are pickup changes,
Yeah,
It would
like
be right
the
to the app.
secretary can do it right.
Oh,
the
okay.
teacher would even know if there was a pickup change.
It's all live, and
For their
parents can
student.
submit the changes on the app.
And-
So it seems pretty neat that,
Yeah.
but we'd have to get all the parents involved. It would have to be a high
Yeah, it would have
percentage
to-
of parents
yeah.
doing
Right,
this
before
too.
it
So
would be worth it.
Yep.
it definitely
yeah, okay.
But it's
It sounds
definitely
good.
something to look into.
Yeah.
There's definitely a high number of daily pickup changes.
And that's been the struggle with the main office and
Yeah.
the principal.
So in terms of
Assistant
efficiency
principal.
at dismissal time, making sure that everybody gets to the right bus or car pickup or what have
Last
you.
minute changes,
Last
parents
minute
are always
changes are
making,
tough,
so
yeah.
it's definitely challenging, a lot of work that's put on these secretaries.
Mm.
We also talked about the handbook, and we went through that, and we're still reviewing that. And our next meeting is going to be on March 18th.
The elementary school didn't meet in February, but they are meeting on the 17th of March.
Okay. Middle school? Anyone?
They met, I was unable to attend, and I'm not entirely sure when the next meeting is. I'll check my calendar if it's
Okay.
even on there yet.
All right. And the high school met on Tuesday and talked about a handbook update for the parking lot issues and the unpaid parking for students who don't pay for parking permits, to make a change in that so that can be addressed. We talked about the DA's office video he's interested in bringing into the school before the prom, hopefully, that it addresses drugs and alcohol and the combination of prescription drugs and alcohol and how it's really, really bad, very dangerous. And so it looked like a good video. So he wants to show it during a school day, maybe during long block advisories, freshman, sophomore in one group, and junior, senior in the other. He talked about 8th grade orientation in late March, students doing a PowerPoint presentation, and next year maybe working on a marketing video for the school that kids could look at. And I think having freshman teachers more involved in the orientation so that when they come and they're looking at the syllabus, they have more of an understanding of what a high school syllabus is, because they never really get those in middle school, and it is a little bit different, the expectations, the breakdown, the percentages, and how things count toward your grade.
I was just thinking about things like that too, like even the clubs, we talked about the clubs having maybe a club fair too with
So they-
8th graders.
They do
Right.
that, but it happens after the start of the school year.
It's like more in October. Yeah.
This year, as it came forward in the forums that I've had with students, right, that the transition from 8th grade to 9th grade is hard. And this year, the planning for this orientation, it's actually students that are contributing to the design of what should be included in the
Yeah, that's
orientation.
the PowerPoint presentation is student-run.
Which is great, because
Yeah.
they know what was difficult for
Yeah.
them in the transition, and they know how to advise the 8th graders who will be coming up, what to be ready for, right? So I think, it's great that Mr. McGrath was approached by a student who suggested that they wanted to take this on, so that's awesome.
And the last thing was senior exams start on May 22nd. It's a Friday before Memorial Day, and then they run the next full week, and they're all done for when they have prom and senior week. And so there's no stress.
No stress, we take
After
care of all the
prom.
academic responsibilities first.
Yes, all the academics will be done for prom weekend.
Then the fun.
Yes, which prom is the 30th. So, capital planning?
We've concluded our work.
Done, right?
Yep, we're done.
Wellness advisory?
Has not met since our last meeting.
PacSal is, I think it's next Friday. Next Friday. Lifelong learning?
We met last night. We have stable, strong programs, currently 6. We discussed last night ways to take next steps in growing our adult learning. So thoughts on, looking at next steps to having a coordinator, even if it was just certain responsibilities that coordinator would have initially, just getting some, going out there and recruiting some people to teach new programs, since the ones that are there seem to be sustainable and thriving, and looking at those next steps.
Did you think about maybe the parks?
Funny you should mention that. I brought that up. Yes,
Right.
we did. We threw out a lot of thoughts
All right.
around that.
Just wondering, because that's a new position too.
It is.
Yeah.
And
that person was full-time, right?
she was, but I think there was a reason that she was in search of part-time.
Oh, okay.
But we threw out lots of thoughts
Okay.
around how to begin that process, because in a long-term vision, this is huge and could bring in a revenue stream. A real one for us.
Yeah.
But so
Break
now that we've
down.
kind of stabilized,
Right.
how do we begin to,
expand?
take those next
Yeah.
steps in growth?
Okay. Brian, the TCP Passios Building Design Committee?
Yes, so we met tonight.
Oh, right before
We
us,
also met
okay.
at our last school committee meeting.
Yeah.
Where we decided on an architect firm, DiGiorgio, and tonight's meeting, we got an update that the town manager is negotiating the contract now with
Okay.
them, so we haven't actually met with them because the negotiating of the contract is
Yeah.
still working out. The lawyer's going to have to review the contract.
Okay.
But we're planning hopefully a meeting either on the 4th or the 11th, depending on how the contract negotiation finishes up. After that, we would be working with the architect, and then obviously the community to start designing it. We're going to put in a warrant to have an update from the committee and hopefully from the architect as well, so that at town meeting we'll be able to update what we've been doing,
Okay.
and then where the process stands, and then hopefully in the fall, at a fall town meeting, we might have something to vote on.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Thank you. Now, public comment is open to anything that falls under the school committee. Nothing? No, I was just wondering. Yes, please do.
Hi, Sloat Lane in this role, just sitting here as a LEA president. Just wanted to say thank you for honoring Judy's memory at the beginning. I just felt like we didn't get to say a lot of things about her, but we're such a family here. We're a small school district. Most of us have worked here for all of our careers. Judy has been with us forever. She was the tutor in my classroom when I first started teaching in 5th grade, and has just provided unbelievable support for struggling readers as a Wilson tutor for so many years. So our most vulnerable readers in elementary school, that awkward, uncomfortable, I don't want to leave my classroom stage, Judy's the person that those kids went to. And she dedicated herself through sickness, through times when she was healthy and times when she was sick, to just being resilient, to coming to school, to taking care of those kids, and the most patient woman you could ever have met. Just oodles of patience, which is very hard to find when dealing with 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. So thank you for recognizing her, and we're very appreciative of all the support that this district puts in place for, unfortunately, these tragedies that we do face. But we face them as a community, and that's our job as a big family. So just thank you. Thank you for continued support.
I have some prepared remarks because I can't speak extemporaneously anymore.
Free was the word.
Big language.
If you don't mind. A lot of you know, 8.5 years ago, my family moved here from Southern California, and we were drawn here by the sense of community and this school system. To be honest with you, it was one of the deciding factors of what brought us to this community. And we were immediately welcomed by the community at large, and my husband became a fixture of the schools, and he would. I was surprised he didn't have a parking space. He was involved in the classrooms. He had a desk. He was involved in the classrooms for our children. He was involved in the PTO when he ran for school committee. Unfortunately, 6 years ago, our family suffered the loss when he suddenly passed away, and my family was immediately surrounded and supported by this community, and especially the school community, as we struggled to, and even still sometimes struggle to, redefine what our lives look like in Lunenburg. And when I first moved here, I traveled for work. I was gone every week, and I'd come home on Friday night, or Friday early morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, leave again on Sunday. So it wasn't until he passed away in January of 2014 that I really felt that I lived here. And that has a lot to do with some of the people on this committee. And since that time, I think I've done my best to pay back the community at large for that kindness and support that was given to us. I volunteered with the PTO. I served on the board of the Boys and Girls Club. I got involved in local government by going to the meetings and watching the meetings. I got appointed to the APDC, and then I ran for this seat on the school committee. And in the nearly 3 years since that election, I do hope that I've been consistent and focused in my work for the benefit of the students. And for the people who voted for me, I hope that I had maintained your support, and those that didn't vote for me, I hope you learned to give me your support. But in a broader sense, I hope that I've managed to pay back the community for those kindnesses over the years. And I'm proud of the work that I've done on this committee for the last 3 years. And it's been a privilege and pleasure serving the students of Lunenburg with you all on this committee. And while I recognize there's still plenty of work to do, it's never ending. I have spent the last several months evaluating where I need to focus my life, and I have decided I will not be running for re-election this year. But I do want to thank everybody for the support, and I would challenge anybody whoever has an inkling to complain about the school committee doing things, step up and make yourself part of the solution instead of complaining about the problem. And I really do appreciate those people who not only supported me, but those that challenged me to do better. So, thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Jim.
And I managed that without tears. Good.
Yeah, well, you know.
Especially after you, yeah.
Is there any other public comment? No? Okay. Topics for future discussion, do you have anything? What did we have, Wendy? Did you
Just
have-
from last time,
Yeah.
I wanted to,
Like that,
at
again,
some point,
What was that?
It was the
discuss
residency requirement.
what are we bound to accept for proof of residency?
Legally.
Legally, yes.
Any other?
Do you want to discuss changing the late registration fee for athletics?
Yes, that we
Yes,
absolutely do.
yes.
Probably a good idea.
If it's not working, then it's
It's
worth
not high
examining.
enough, Clearly.
That's my thought as well, but that's a
Because
discussion.
it's not really acting as a deterrent if people are willing to pay the $25.
Well, it's $25. Right. It's probably worthy of a discussion.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Is that it then? Good?
I think
Okay, so, we're going into executive session now to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with union personnel or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with union personnel, not to return to regular session. So we need a roll call vote. Who's calling?
I'll call. Mr. Leighton?
Yes.
Mrs. Ashambo?
Yes.
Mr. Levesque?
Yes.
Mrs. Bertrand?
Yes.
Mrs. Schroeder?
Yes?
And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Dave. See ya.
Bye, Dave. How are you?